Welcome to the Iyengar Spirit. Join Minister Janich for a sermon, a call for balance, bridging the past with the present. In faith, we gather here today not just to reflect on the spiritual wisdom of the ages, but to ignite within ourselves a flame of purpose, one that propels us forward as we face the challenges of this moment. We are called, as beings of faith and reason, to examine the sacred truths passed down to us and to seek the balance between what was once spoken and the reality we now live. Let us consider the span of time, from 500 BC to this approaching year 2025. In this vast stretch of history we find humanity in all its stages of growth. From small, scattered communities living simple lives to today's complex, interconnected world of billions. Back then the challenges were different, the questions simpler. People sought survival, protection, and harmony with nature. And through it all, the voices of the divine, of wisdom, and of guidance were heard. These voices shaped ancient teachings, building foundations upon which entire civilizations rested. But today we face an entirely new set of questions. With all our modern advancements, with technology at our fingertips and information flowing endlessly, we might wonder, do the words of our spiritual forebears still hold the same power? How do we reconcile ancient wisdom given in a world so different from ours, with the complexities of today? Brothers and sisters of the universe, this is where the power of debate and discussion comes in. The sacred texts, philosophies, and spiritual traditions that have come down to us through the centuries were born in a time when life was slower, when people grappled with mysteries we have long since unraveled. The wisdom they contained was perfect for their time, but what about now? The changing meaning of words and intentions. Languages evolve. Words change. What once might have meant freedom may now mean power. What once was truth may now seem like a metaphor. Even the very intention behind spiritual teachings can shift as humanity grows and understands more about itself and the universe. Take, for example, the words of a prophet or sage from millennia past. Their advice was given to small communities, grappling with the early stages of civilization. Their aim was to guide people towards unity, peace, and the common good. Yet today the world is so vastly different that many of their specific directives may seem out of touch or irrelevant. But here's where we must open our hearts and minds. Spiritual wisdom was never meant to be stagnant. It was never meant to remain frozen in time, but rather to grow, evolve, and be understood anew. Could it not be that those ancient leaders, if they had access to today's knowledge and experience, would refresh their messages, finding ways to speak to our modern context? They might ask, what does compassion mean in the age of social media? How does love of neighbor manifest when we are global citizens, connected across continents? They would challenge us not to remain stuck in the past, but to seek out the deeper, eternal truths beneath their words and apply them to our ever-changing world. The power to update the message. We, the spiritual seekers and leaders of today, are not powerless in this. The divine spark of wisdom lives within each of us, the same flame that lit the hearts of the sages, prophets, and mystics of old. If we believe in the timelessness of truth, then we must also believe in our responsibility to translate that truth for our time. Could it be that spiritual leaders have always had the power to update the message? Not by changing the essence but by deepening the understanding of it. By translating the eternal into the language of the present. The balance we seek. As we debate this call for balance, let us be clear. This is not a rejection of the past. We do not discard ancient wisdom. Rather, we honor it by letting it live through us. We balance the reverence for the wisdom of old with the clarity to see the needs of today. This balance, naturalists, is the path to spiritual growth, the path to peace. Yes, there are differences between the world of 500 BC and 2025. But what remains the same is the human heart. Its desire for meaning, for connection, for justice, and for peace. The ancient texts speak to that heart, but we must be the translators, the bridge builders, the ones who stand at the intersection of past and present. Let us not be afraid to question, to debate, to ask how ancient teachings apply to our modern world. For in this holy dialogue, we do not diminish the power of the old ways. Rather, we fulfill their potential. Call to action. So, I challenge you today, Ask yourselves how the wisdom you hold dear can be applied in the world you live in now. How can we honor the spiritual traditions of the past, while also answering the urgent questions of our present? How can we be both faithful to our roots and bold in our evolution? Spiritual leaders, philosophers, and seekers, this is your call. Update the message. Be the voice that brings ancient truth into the present moment. Balance the past with the present, and in doing so, you will lead us into a future of harmony, wisdom, and peace. Let us go forward not as prisoners of history, but as co-creators of a future rooted in the eternal, yet blossoming in the now. Peace be upon you all.